Hi, this is Norman Kochnick here from a place called the Bow House in Coogee in Sydney, Australia. I've just gone through a number of the English papers. In fact, one of the Indian papers and a cross-section of the online media as well about the completed fourth test between India and England, which finished yesterday. Clearly, there's been a lot of reports out about the series, which is certainly one aspect of it. So there's a wrapping up of both the fourth test, which was in 3 days, and the overall 4 tests, and the way you would sum up that series. I looked at it from the beginning and I said it would be a 3-0 victory to India with a draw. I wasn't far wrong. In fact, it was 3-1 as it turned out, with India winning the fourth test, not in 2 days, but this time in 3 days. Very much you would argue, a capitulation on the part of England, and a number of the papers have been quite scathing. In fact, there's a fair bit of world backlash. Australian papers made the flippant comment, it's unfortunate that England didn't get the message or didn't read the script. They were meant to win that match, make it a draw, and allow Australia to go through to the World Test Championships, and India was supposed to miss out. So Australia was implying that England didn't follow the script. It's quite funny. But let's look through some of the papers that I've looked to specifically on this test series and the test itself. The Guardian, which is always a very strong newspaper in England, made a very strong headline: England in India 2020-21, which of course the series was. The headline goes, England fall apart again as spinners wrap up innings, win and series for India. So it's quite a clear discussion on the England falling apart. Capitulating was a very common word as well. In the end, England's frazzled minds and tortured techniques were unable to resist the Indian onslaught, and India completed a comprehensive innings victory inside 3 days that wrapped up a 3-1 series winning and a place in the final of the World Test Championship. So effectively, it was wrapped up within 3 days. It was an innings and 25 runs specifically. England only scored 135 in the last innings, and that was quite atrocious, despite scoring 205 in the first, which is not a lot better actually. And India quite comprehensively had a lead after their first innings, with the likes of Washington Sundar, of course, with 96, and Rishabh Pant with 101. Virat Kohli's men will meet New Zealand and England in June, and though the conditions will be vastly different, one to those witnessed over the past month, and a heavy diet of white ball cricket will fill the gap, the force should very much be with them, that is India, not least when considering their historic series victory in Australia either side of Christmas. So the England papers are actually giving momentum to India, having won an Australian series, having beaten England at home, and now moving into what will be a very comprehensive test series, but more specifically a World Test Championship match in England at Lord's against New Zealand. New Zealand only just defeated Australia 3-2 in a T20 series, and they look good, but yeah, I think I agree with what this paper is saying. For England, there is much to ponder. Owen Morgan's hell-raising white ball team are in town and will be at full strength for the 5-match 2020 series up next in India. But while this offers a source of hope, the tour may end on a brighter note. It also leaves a sense of what might have been had the test side been the one to take priority, which they're implying the test series didn't take priority, the ODI series does, or more so the T20 series. Don't forget we've got a World Cup happening, a T20 World Cup happening in later on this year. I think it's October, November this year, leading into an Ashes series for England as well. So the priority certainly may turn to the World T20 series and may not have been specific on this test series. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what they're saying. So having looked at that, take it all in, India, they deserve it. You deserve it. It's one of the other headlines commonly come up in one of the Indian papers. I thought this was interesting to bring up. India outclassed England by an innings of 25 runs to win the series 3-1 and qualify for the WTC final. And Axar Patel with his 5 wickets and Ashwin with his 5 wickets also proved a point very strongly as to the strength of their bowling lineup. Clearly, Jadeja's still to come back into the team, and we have the likes of Ashwin there now. Axar has taken 5 wickets. It's quite a significant amount of coverage there of bowlers anyway, and batters for that matter, and all-rounders. In the Daily Mail in England winners and losers from the series defeat in India. So they headed it more of a balanced thought. England's winners and losers from the series defeat in India. Jame Anderson destroyed any questions marks over his fitness or effectiveness in hostile conditions, but spinner Dom Bess is clearly lacking confidence. So Anderson and up, Dom Bess are down. But of course, Ben Stokes was also a massive up, in my opinion. And Joe Root himself was pretty commendable, although his captaincy on occasions, well, somewhat defensive, I would argue. And some of the general headlines, I mean, ESPN Quick Info, which is commonly there, provided match reports. They were fairly neutral, but again, saying the word thumped, defeated, the terms they use in the series. But the news.com.au, which is more of a world provide, has a very strong comment saying the world piles on England after fourth test capitulation to India. So again, the world piles on England after the fourth test capitulation in India. So the press are piling on top of them, giving them a lot of negativity, like a ton of bricks. So but it was amusing to me about Australia being rather disappointed that England didn't get the message or didn't get the mail to actually win that match over India, so Australia could leapfrog both of them. I doubt England thought that way at all. There were the Fox Sports certainly came out with a fair bit, but in particular, back to news.com.au, world piles on England. That's a great statement. I think it was very true. And what they wrote was, England won the first test of the series, but have been thoroughly outplayed in the next three. So it is true, England did win the first, but India thoroughly outplayed in the last three. And with the spinning wickets in India, slicing through the English batsmen. So slicing through the English batsmen to win by an innings of 25 runs in the final match. So a lot of very cutting, very powerful terms of defeat, and it's quite strong. But while Indian fans rejoice, which they certainly should have, they deservedly should so, they've been used to it with Australia, the victory against Australia now at home, England was already getting ripped apart for their performances. Former England skipper Michael Vaughan tweeted, India have been far too good. The last three tests, they have absolutely hammered England. If they can win in England, they are without doubt the best team of this era, but that will take some doing against the swinging ball. So he balances somewhat up. Indian commentator Harsha Borgle, who predicted that the match would be over today, which is the third day, at the beginning of the day rather than the end, agreed with the Indian legend Virender Sehwag and sent a clear message saying England lost it between the ears. That's a great way of explaining it. England certainly capitulated between the ears. They mentally were just disintegrated. They seemed to not have any idea against the spin, and it wasn't based on lack of technique. It was wrong shot choice of shots. The likes of, you'd have to look at it very specifically at the likes of when their openers, and Akshar Patel took wickets in his first over in almost every match, or in the last one, it was the first or second over. It was quite an incredible early capitulation. Crawley, to me, was someone who deserved a better chance. He was a great batter. He'll do very well in Australia and even at home in England, but he just seemed to have this mental concern of what to actually do with spin bowling. Akshar Patel just simply bowled very accurately. And Rohit Sharma said very clearly in his post to just simply have intent, look to score runs, and have the intention of not being defensive, and that would have been the key. And Crawley certainly was effective. Dan Lawrence in his second has got 50. He looked a lot more in that mindset. He was willing to give it a go, and hence he got 50. Yeah, so there was a number of other tweets. Mike Atherton was also there. A lengthy test series can be likened to an arm wrestle. You have a struggle for a short while, but it often ends with one team completely flattened. Well played, India. It's a very well described comment. Alex Tudor just said, just too good. It's that simple. Well played. And that's true again. I mean, that was a very common. Suresh Raina on the Indian side, sheer dominance from the boys. A marvellous series at home. Congratulations to Team India on qualifying for the World Test Championship final. Jahind. And another comment, what a pathetic batting performance by England. Losing 2 test matches in total of 5 days. A combined total of 2 tests in 5 days. Very, very true. Tim Wigmore, winning 3 tests out of 6 in Asia is better than many thought England would do this winter, but the last 3 tests have been much worse than feared. And another comment, as poor as England were, one had to say India are very impressive, and I agree with that. Mixture of youth and experience, attack and defence, all areas covered, and very well led. Fair play. So that's a very good summary of the fallout from the 4th test and the series in general. India in ascendancy, not just only in Australia, continued in India, T20 and ODIs in front of them. then a slight break, and obviously the IPL will take over to tour of Sri Lanka, then to England, and then in particular the World Test Championship, and then back for a fantastic T20 World Cup in India, and that will finish off a great year for India. In fact, hats off to India, they deserve everything they get. This is Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. Don't forget to view, like and share the posts, share away, make sure you have a good reference point to this video for the purpose of newspapers around the world. I hope you enjoy it. Again, share, get people to subscribe and grow the channel. This is Norman Kochnick with Eyes on Cricket. This is Norman Kochnick, Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick.